Life. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds. We got a good show tonight. Let's run down the chat. Hey, Gary, welcome in. Before we get started, we're going to plug our last two events tonight. Let me see here. We're going to put up the flyers here. We got two more Paracons that we're going to be at for the year, and then it is done for us. We've got the West Kentucky Paranormal Expo, September 26th. We'll be out there. We're one of the featured speakers, along with Beyond Life Paranormal Research LLC as a vendor. My cousin Kathy and Michael Myers may be making an appearance there, our life-size Michael Myers, if we sell him before then. So we are having some technical difficulties tonight with audio. I don't know why, for some reason. But the headliners are Aaron G. Thompson from 28 Days Haunted, my buddies Outlaw Paranormal, Jeff and Jimmy, and then the Winder Brothers, and then we got several featured speakers. We'll have equipment out there for sale as well. And then our last one that we are going to be at is the Rock Island Roadhouse Esoteric Expo. That will be our last Paracon for the season this year. We are already confirmed for several next year as well. The Rock Island Paracon, big venue in Illinois, so come on out. Show your support on that one. Like I said, we'll be out there. Our cousin Kathy will be at that one as well. And we'll have equipment out there for sale, merch. So come out and see us. Come talk to us about the Warrens or our equipment, our research. And we will see you all there. So tonight I thought we're going to talk about the history of the seances tonight. As many of you know, the seances are a form of spirit communication that many investigators get into. It dates back to hundreds of years. It goes all the way back to French and England are the ones that discovered the seances, which we do it here in the United States. Some investigators still do it to this day. So I'm going to read off a little history on the seance. There's several different types of seances. You've got the spirit photograph of a seance, which was conducted by John Beatty of Bristol, England in 1872. A seance is an attempt to communicate with spirits. The word seance comes from the French word for session, from the Old French to sit. In French, the word's meaning is quite general and mundane. One may, for example, speak of seances in English. However, the word came from the use specifically for a meeting of people who are gathered to receive messages from ghosts or to listen to a spirit medium disclosure with or relay messages from spirits. In modern English usage, participants need not to be seated while engaged in a seance. Fictionalized conversations between the deceased appeared in Dialogues of the Dead by George I Baron Lytton, published in England in 1760. Among the notable spirits quoted in this volume are Peter the Great, Pericles, a North American savage, William Penn, and Christina, Queen of Sweden. Popularity of seances grew dramatically with the founding of the religion of spiritualism in the mid-19th century. Perhaps the best-known series of seances conducted at that time were those of Mary Todd Lincoln, who was grieving the loss of her son, organized spiritualist seances in the White House, which were attempted by her husband, President Abraham Lincoln, and other prominent members of society. The 1887 Seibert Commission report married the credibility of spiritualism in the height of its popularity by publishing exposures of fraud and showmanship among secular seance leaders. The modern seances continued to be part of the religious services and spiritualist churches today, where a greater emphasis is placed on spiritual values versus showmanship. The term seance is used in a few different ways and can refer to any of the 4 different activities, each within its own social rumors and conventions, its own favored tools, and its own range of expected outcomes. Main article, Spiritualism Movement, the Kardecist Spiritualism and Spirit MO, the Black Hawk and the Religion of Spiritualism, and the Religion of Divine Metaphysics, a physically recognized religious branch out of spiritualism in the United States. It is generally a part of service to communicate with living personalities in the spirit world. Usually this is only called a seance by outsiders. The preferred term for the spiritualists is receiving messages. In these sessions, which are generally take place in a well-lit spiritualist church or outdoors at spiritualist camps such as Lilydale in upstate New York or Camp Casadagua in Florida, an ordained minister or gifted contact medium will relate messages from spirit personalities to those here in the physical form. Generally, spiritualist message services or demonstrations of the community of life are open to the public. Sometimes the medium stands to receive messages and only the sitter is seated. In some churches, the message service is preceded by a healing service involving some form of faith healing. In addition to communication with spirits of people who have a personal relationship to congregants, some spiritual churches also deal with spirits who may have a specific relationship to the medium or historic relationship to the body of church. An example of the latter is the spirit of Black Hawk. A Sioux warrior who lived during the 19th century, Black Hawk was a spirit who was often contacted by the spiritualist medium Leafy Anderson, and he remains the central focus for special services in African American spiritual churches that she founded. In the Latin American religion, Spiritus MO, which somewhat resembles spiritualism, seance sessions in which congregants attempt to communicate with spirits are called maiasis, something like that, or literally masses. The spirits addressed in Espiritus are often those of ancestors of Catholic saints. Paschal Beverly Randolph, stage mediumship, mediums who give performance on stage of contacting spirits with audience members seated before them are not literally holding a seance because they themselves are not seated. However, this is still called seance. One of the foremost early practitioners of this type of contact with the dead is Paschal Beverly Randolph, who worked with the spirits of relatives of audience members, but was also famed for his ability to contact and deliver messages from ancient seers and philosophers such as Plato. Leader-assisted seances are generally conducted by small groups of people with participants seated around a table in a dark, semi-dark room. The leader is typically asserted to be a medium, or he or she may go into a trance that theoretically allows the spirits to communicate through their body, conveying messages to the other participants. Other modes of communication may also be attempted, including psychography and automatic writing, numbered raps, levitation of the table, or the spirit trumpets, apports, or even smell. It was thought spirits of the dead reside within the realm of dark and shadow, making the absence of light a necessity to invoke them. Skeptics were unwilling to accept this required condition, saying you would not buy an automobile if it was only presented in the dark. This is a type of seance that is most often subject to shock and scandal when it turns out that the leader is practicing some form of stage magic, illusion, or using mentalism tricks to defraud clients. Informal social seance, Balmain, Sydney, 1939, by Ray Olson. Among those in an interest in the occult, a tradition has grown up of conducting seances outside any religious context and without a leader. Sometimes only 2 or 3 people are involved, and if they are young, they may be using the seance as a way to test understanding of boundaries between reality and the paranormal. It is in such small seances that the planchette and Ouija board are most often utilized. Spiritualists and practitioners, psychics and mediums, hold a seance so that all participants speak with various personalities in the spirit world. This held in a seating manner in a circle. Tools and techniques, mediums, trance, and channeling. Mediumship. The fraud medium Eva Carreri in a seance with a cardboard cutout figure of King Ferdinand in Bulgaria. Mediumship involves an act where the practitioner attempts to receive messages from spirits of the dead and from other spirits that the practitioner believes exist. Some self-ordained mediums are fully conscious and awake while functioning as contacts. Others may slip into a partial or full trance or into an altered state of consciousness. These self-called trance mediums often state that they emerge from the trance state. They have no recollection of messages they conveyed. It is customary for such practitioners to work with an assistant who writes down or otherwise records their words. Spirit boards, talking boards, and Ouija boards. Spirit boards, also known as talking boards or Ouija boards, after a well-known brand name, are flat tablets, typically made of wood, masonite, chipboard, or plastic. On the board are a number of symbols, pictures, letters, numbers, and or words. The board is accompanied by a planchette, French or little board, which can take the form of a pointer on 3 legs or a magnifying glass on legs. Homemade boards may employ a shot glass as a planchette. Most basic Ouija boards would contain simply the alphabet or whatever country the board is being used in, although it is not uncommon for the whole words to be added. The board is used as follows. 1 or more of the practitioners in a seance place 1 or 2 fingers on the planchette, which is in the middle of the board. The appointed medium asks questions of the spirit with whom they are attempting to communicate. Trumpets, slates, tables, and cabinets. During the latter half of the 19th century, a number of spiritualist mediums began to advocate the use of specialized tools for conducting seances, particularly in leader-assisted sessions conducted in darkened rooms. Spirits' trumpets were horn-shaped speaking tubes that were used to magnify and whispered voices of spirits to the audible range. Spirit slates consisted of 2 chalkboards bound together that are, when opened, were said to reveal messages written by spirits. Seance tables were special lightweight tables that were said to rotate, float, or levitate when spirits were present. Spirit cabinets were portal closets into which mediums were placed, often bound with ropes in order to prevent them from manipulating the various informative tools. A poster on the early 20th century stage shows from Houdini advertised as proving that spirits do not return. Scientific skeptics and atheists generally consider both religious and secular seances to be scams, or at least a form of pious fraud, citing a lack of empirical evidence. The exposure was supposed mediums who use of seance tools derived from the techniques of stage magic has been disturbing to many believers in spirit communication, in particular in the 1870s exposure of the Davenport brothers as illusionists, and in the 1887 report of the Seibert Commission brought an end to the first historic phase of spiritualism. Stage magicians like John Neville Maskelyne and Harry Houdini made a sideline of exposing fraudulent mediums during the late 19th and early 20th century. In 1976, M. Lamar Keene described deceptive techniques that he himself had used in seances. However, in the same book, Keene also stated that he still had a firm belief in God, life after death, ESP, and other psychic phenomenon. In his 2004 television special, Seance magician Darren Brown held a seance and afterwards described some of the tricks used by him in the 19th century mediums to create illusion of paranormal events, which we'll touch back on that because the magician Chris Angel also has a say on seances and psychics and stuff. Critics of channeling, including both skeptics and believers, state that since most commonly reported physical manifestation of channeling are an unusual vocal pattern or abnormal aberrant behaviors of the medium, it can be quite easily faked by anyone with theoretical talent. Critics of the spirit board communication techniques, again including both skeptics and believers, state that the premise that a spirit will move the planchette and spell out a message using the symbols on the board is undetermined by the fact that several people have their hands on the planchette, which allows any of them to spell out anything they want without the others knowing. They say that this is a common trick used on occasions such as a teenage sleepover parties to scare the people present. Another criticism of spirit board communication involves what it's called an ideomotor effect, which has been suggested as an automatism and subconscious mechanism by which a Ouija user mind unknowingly guides his hand upon the planchette. Hence, he will still honestly believe he is not moving it when in fact he is. This theory rests on the embedded premise that human beings actually have a subconscious mind, a belief not held by all. The exposures of fraud tool using mediums have had two divergent results. Skeptics have used historic exposures as a frame through which to view all spirit mediumship as an inherently fraudulent, while believers have tended to eliminate the use of tools but continue to practice mediumship in full confidence of its spiritual value to them. Jews and Catholics are taught that it is sinful to attempt to conjure or control spirits in accordance to the Deuteronomy 18:9-12. Psychologically, research in animalistic psychologically has reversed the role of suggestion in seances in the series of fake seance experiments. The Wise Men, which I did a podcast episode on the Wise Men, paranormal believers and disbelievers were subject by an actor that a table was levitating when in fact it remained stationary after the seance. Approximately 1/3 of the participants incorrectly reported that the table had moved. The results showed a greater percentage of believers reporting that the table had moved in another paranormal phenomenon. The experiment strongly supported the notion that the seance room believers are more suggestible than the disbelievers for suggestions that are consistent with their belief in paranormal phenomenon. Notable mediums and attendees, debunkers, Cora Scott Hatch, popular 19th century trance medium. Lecturers include Cora Scott Hatch, H. Judd, W. Sprague, Emma Harding Britton, and Pascal Beverly Randolph, among notable people who conducted small leader assisted seances. The attendees, notable people who have attended seance and professed a belief in spiritualism, include social reformer Robert Owen, the journalist and pacifist William T. Stead, William Lyon Mackenzie King, the Prime Minister of Canada for 22 years, who sought spiritual contact and political guidance from his deceased mother, his pet dogs, and the late U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the journalist and author Lloyd Kenyon Jones, and the physician and author Arthur Conan Doyle. A number of artists, including Helma A.F. Clint, Regina Five, Pauline Peavy, have given partial or complete credit of some of their work to spirits that they contacted during a seance. Paula said that when she painted, she did not have control over her brush and it moved on its own. And it was Lacamo, the spirit, who was directing it. Scientists have conducted search for real seances and believe that contact with the dead is a reality, including chemist William Crookes, evolutionary biologist Alfred Russel Wallace, inventor of radio Guglielmo Marconi, inventor of the telephone Alexander Graham Bell, experimental physicist Oliver Lodge, and inventor of television technology John Logie Baird, who's said to have contacted spirit of inventor Thomas Edison. The debunkers among the best-known exposure to fraudulent medium acts have been researchers Frank Podmore of the Society for Psychical Research, Harry Price of the National Laboratory for Psychical Research, the professional stage magicians John Neville Maskelyne, who exposed the Davenport brothers, and Harry Houdini, who clearly stated they did not oppose the religion of spiritualism itself, but only the trickery of phony mediums that was being practiced in the name of religion. The psychological researcher Hereward Kerrigan exposed tricks of fraudulent mediums such as those in slate writing, table turning, trumpet mediumship, materialization, sealed letter reading, and spirit photography. The skeptic Joseph McCabe documented many mediums who have been caught in fraud, and the tricks they use in his book is spiritualism based on fraud. Magicians have long history of exposing fraudulent methods of mediumship. Early debunkers include Chung Ling So, Henry Evans, and Julian Pasquar. Later magicians reveal frauds were Fulton Oshler, Joseph Dunninger, Joseph Vryn. The researchers Trevor H. Hall and Gordon Steen have documented the trickery of mediums. Daniel Douglas Home. So, right, Gary? Yeah, Ouija boards. Yeah, I mean, with the Ouija boards, there's a lot of things with Ouija boards. I mean, it's all how you set your intentions too. And I mean, I agree. We'll touch back on the magicians that, like Harry Houdini. Now, if you remember Chris Angel on live TV, he called out a psychic medium. He didn't believe him. He thought it was total hogwash that this he wasn't a medium. But if you remember on Chris Angel Mind Freak, he did a seance in a motel that was supposedly haunted, and they actually caught something on camera when he did a seance. Another popular seance is the Warrens that did in the Conjuring House. So if some of the seances are trickery and frauds, what caused Andrea's mother to go flying backwards in that chair? I mean, there is some trickery. I mean, you can manipulate stuff I mean, anything can be made into a Ouija board. I mean, you can cut out letters, just cut out letters and squares and put them around a table and use a glass as a planchette. You, I mean, if you watch that show, it was with Yvette Fielding over in Most Haunted over there in England. They've done a lot of that stuff, table tipping and the makeshift with the glass. They put their one finger on the glass and the glass is sitting there spinning. Um, and I mean, seances, like I said, has been around for hundreds of years. Like you saw, it goes all the way back to the 1700s. And using it as form of spirit communication as well. I mean, I don't recommend doing it in somebody's house, but um, I mean, you're letting them use your energy. I mean, psychics too. I mean, there are legit psychics out there. I mean, I've worked with several that are legit at what they do, and I've worked with several that aren't. That you couldn't back up anything they were saying. Um, so, but I mean, there is some out there that that are legit at what they do. Um, I mean, look at Derek Acora. He used to channel, and he let the spirit take over his body, and he'd have no control over his body. He was somebody else, and I used to have to take him outside and pull him out of the location for him to snap out of it. Um, so, I mean, like Gary says there about if you don't know what you're doing with a Ouija board, do not touch them. We don't mess with them because they're not good. Ouija boards aren't. They're dangerous if you don't know what you're doing with them. I've seen it go wrong. I've dealt with enough cases involving Ouija boards that have been wrong, that they've brought something in. I mean, one case we worked, a girl made one on a piece of paper. So that shows you can make homemade ones. But like I said, it's all how you set your intention. There's other people that use them and nothing ever happens to them. Then you get some that use them and stuff happens to them. So, you just need to decipher what's real and what's not when it comes to that. And especially when you get enough people on it, they could be moving it on there. And so, but yeah, I mean, you have to know what you're doing when it comes to that. And with all that, because if you don't, you're going to get yourself hurt, or you're going to open that doorway and you're going to let something in that could be bad for you. A lot of people don't realize that too. So people just need to be aware of their surroundings and what they're doing. I mean, even doing the human pendulum is like doing a seance too. When you're doing the human pendulum, and you're letting that spirit use your energy, and that's the same with the seances. You're holding hands and you're all combining energy for that spirit to come in and communicate. And if you don't set your seance circle right, you can be letting in a whole bunch of bad stuff too as well, with it. I mean, I've seen those go wrong too, with it. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I mean, Harry Houdini was a good one for calling out those debunkers, the fakes and stuff like that. And I mean, there is a lot of them out there that will they charge you this X amount of dollars to do a reading on you, and then the reading's not right, and you just wasted a whole bunch of money on it. And I mean, you got to realize what you're doing. So I've got a list here of channelers that actually channel, and number one is Derek Akora, the late psychic medium from Most Haunted. If you haven't seen Most Haunted, go check out that TV show. They're not on air anymore, but you can still find them on Amazon and stuff like that. And check out Derek when he does that. Rosemary Altea, Derek Anka, Clifford Bias, Helena Vavilowski, Emma Hardington Britton, Sylvia Brown, Teresa Capito, Lee Carroll, Edgar Cass, George Chapman, Benjamin Cream, Chip Coffey. As many of you know, Chip Coffey from The Psychic Medium. He's also a channeler. Aleister Crowley. Many of you know that name too as well. Florence Cook, Andrew Jackson Davis, Jeannie Dixon, Allison DuBois, John Edward, Arthur Ford, Colin Fry, the Fox Sisters, Devil Daldo, Piera Franco, Matt Frazier, Eileen J. Garrett, Victor Hannequin, Tyler Henry, Esther Hicks, Linda and Terry Jameson, Thomas John, Mary Lamar Keene, Jay-Z Knight, Dada Lakire, Char Margolis, Ruth Montgomery, Sally Morgan, Esperzola Palladino, Lordina Piper, and James Van Pera. You got Pascal Beverly Randolph, which she was proved to be a fraud. Richardson, Jane Roberts, Helen Schumann, Gary Spivey, Tony Stockwell, Doris Stokes, Paul Selig, Stanswala Tomakez, Neil Diamond Walsh, Lorraine Warren, my cousin Lorraine Warren. She was a gifted medium, clairvoyant, and she used to channel. Lisa Williams, Jeanette Wilson, Chico Javier. And those are some of the lists of the ones that used to channel. Lorraine was big on she would channel. That's what Ed relied on as well, was Lorraine. He went by Lorraine because Ed didn't have any abilities, so he went by Lorraine and her abilities. So, and she was gifted at what she did. Lorraine was as channeler. And I mentioned Harry Price earlier. He was another one that exposed to frauds. He's another legend in the paranormal field that many people overlook, is Harry Price. I mean, he was way back there from the 1800s, I believe. We'll do another episode on Harry Price and stuff, and Morris Gross and those guys. You had that one psychic medium. He went out to the Sally house and he was able to channel out in the Sally out there in the Sally house. And he's the one that picked up that it wasn't the little girl haunting the Sally house. It's an actual demonic entity. He was on that TV show, A Haunting, talking about the Sally house. There was another gifted medium. I mean, look at how the magicians, they do that mental, how they do that reading those illusions. So, I mean, that what starts to make you wonder is if some of these psychics that aren't real, that's what they're actually doing, and you're paying this money for readings and stuff like that. So a lot of people don't realize that, and need to look into it and do something with that. And people get onto that kick and they spend these X amount of dollars for that, and they want to know about their deceased loved one and stuff like that. And some of these psychics aren't legit, and you're going to them. And I mean, now one seance that's legit is Patty Negri. The one she does a midnight seance. I've heard a lot of positive results from that. So, but yeah, I mean, if anybody's got any questions, throw them up in the chat. We got about 20 minutes left. I'm only doing an hour tonight. So we'll be back soon we're going to go back with StreamYard. We'll be back on StreamYard here soon instead of Restream. We were just having some technical difficulties, and so so we'll be back soon on there, probably next week. So but yeah, with seances, you also got to be careful too. You know your location too. Know what's haunting that location before you start doing any seances. Or I mean, it's like us doing Estes and spirit box sessions and EVP sessions. It's another form of spirit communication too, and doing seances and stuff like that. And so we don't we don't do the seances. We don't get into that and with it, and because that's not for us. We're out there to help people. So and we don't know. Some people do it and they're successful at it. We've just never really given it any shot or anything like that to do it. And I mean, we do a lot of residential, so we don't want to do that stuff in somebody's house. I mean, we're already dealing with a client who is scared and their family. You don't want to be doing that in somebody's house and stuff. I mean, and I mean, if if you're new to the field, you shouldn't be doing seances at all. You should be learning and stuff on it. So and so you need to know what you're doing when it comes to that. So with that being said, just watch yourself. Be careful when you're doing that stuff. Human pendulum, any of that spirit communication, Ouija boards, and know the people that you're with. If you're going to do Ouija boards and stuff like that, know who you're with and what you're doing. Get that training. I mean, if you need someone to talk about, if you're into the Ouija boards, you need a good person to talk to, reach out to Empty Casket Paranormal, Bill Bryan. He's got a whole Ouija board museum. He'll be happy to educate you on that stuff. I know from our experiences, they're nothing but bad news, but I mean, I'm not against them, but I'm against people using them for the wrong reasons. And that's what happens. That's quite a bit that happens. People use them for the wrong reasons, and then they open that doorway, they don't know how to close it, and then there you go. And then you have to call us in to come get rid of it. And in fact, we got to go actually schedule to go out to a house and remove a Ouija board from somebody's house. They found it, they don't want it in their house. So we got to go out and remove it for them. So, with that being said, you need, like I said, you need to protect yourself. Hey, Sandy, welcome in. Yeah, Sandy, we'll be back on StreamYard probably next week. We're still having some technical difficulties, so I switched to Restream for a little bit. And then we'll be back on StreamYard next week, back to the normal. But yeah, so again, come check us out in September 26th in Mayfield, Kentucky at the West Kentucky Paranormal Expo. That's going to be a good one. I know we are confirmed next year for Crypticon KC. We're coming back next year, and we're doing Crypticon Minneapolis next year as well. So, and then we're also doing Border Town, and we're waiting to hear on two others. So it was a little too late to get a guest for tonight, so figured I'd do with this. Sandy, we were talking about the history on the seances and the Ouija boards and stuff like that. I suggest if you want to know more history on the Ouija boards, like I said, reach out to Bill Bryan, at a buddy of mine at Empty Casket Paranormal. He's got the Ouija board museum, and he's got Ouija boards dating all the way back. I got to see it at Rock Island last year, and it was pretty amazing to see all the different types of spirit communication spirit boards that they had back then. And then I saw the actual trumpets that I talked about a little while ago. They had them as well. Is amazing, and he makes the Ouija boards as well too. Some of the craftsmanship he puts into making them, and the detailed artwork he puts in them. He had last year. He had a Vincent Price one. He had a Ozzy Osbourne. He made one for Lucky Looney for Rock Island. If many of you don't know Lucky Looney, he was one of the gangsters in Rock Island, Illinois for the Rock Island Roadhouse. That was one of his hangouts, I believe. And I believe he had a speakeasy there as well. But I know if you come out to Rock Island and get tickets for the paranormal investigation, there'll be 3 teams going out taking people on paranormal investigations, and they name the teams after the famous gangsters. One is Al Capone and 2 other famous gangsters. So yeah, that's going to be a good Paracon. Robert the Doll's sister will be out there with David Sloan. Sheila from Missouri State Penitentiary, she'll be out there. Mary Lynn Bast and Michael Gagliano from Para with a Normal and the Lost Goat podcast will be out there. We'll be out there as well. Get Haunted will be there. There's quite a few teams. Bubba After Dark, the famous paranormal investigator on TikTok, who's good friends with my buddy Jimmy Ricker of Outlaw Paranormal. The group from Greece will be out there again this year. They were a nice couple we got to meet last year. We were in his video out there, and he'll be out there as well again this year. There'll be quite a few. I mean, it's going to be packed this year. I think Get Haunted Midwest will be out there. I know they're bringing another haunted museum will be out there as well this year. And I know I saw some of my friends, they went up and seen the Warrens Occult Museum up in Salem. Now it's open, so if you guys want to get tickets, go check it out. Um, I saw the grand opening, looked like it was a pretty good grand opening. Elton and Matt did a pretty good job on it. And I saw Annabelle leaving the Warrens Occult Museum and headed to Salem the other night. So she's up there, and I believe the fire doll's up there, the shadow doll, satanic idol, the conjuring mirror, the devil made me do it dinosaur. There's several pieces up there from the Warrens Occult Museum. I don't think everything's up there. I did see the monkey from the Conjuring movie, from the last Conjuring. There, it's up there in Salem. I don't know if my dolls are still there. I have to reach out to Wade, find out. But those guys, this weekend, if you're in Gettysburg, go to the Parajam. They'll be out there. Wade and Chris from Nesper will be out there. Michael Gagliano will be out there. My buddy Dave Giuliano. Uh, Mary Jo Chudley will be out there. And there'll be several others out there as well. I know Chris and Wade are guest speakers. I believe Father Bob's supposed to be there, but I believe Father Bob's still in the hospital. So please keep Father Bob in your prayers. He needs it right now. I don't know if you've seen his post with his heart and stuff. He needs prayers right now. So keep Father Bob in your prayers and your well wishes. He'll definitely appreciate that. As many of you know, Father Bob is the priest that worked with Lorraine Warren and Ryan Buell on Paranormal State. Father Bob's a good friend of ours. He's like family to us. And Father Bob's one of my mentors in demonology, along with Sister Farah. And Sister Farah and I work close together in demonology, and she helps me out with that. And Father Bob's her spiritual director. Um, so yeah, if you get a chance to go up to Salem, go check out the Warrens Occult Museum up there. You won't be disappointed. Some of my friends came back and said it was an awesome experience. They had an awesome time up there. They were actually up at Salem, Massachusetts, and they were there for the grand opening. And they went, so they had a good time there. So yeah, definitely check it out. Just you're safe when you walk in there with Annabelle. I know many people are with the bad juju with Annabelle. You're safe. You can't get near her. Just be respectful to those items. That's all. As long as you're respectful, they're not gonna do nothing to you. You don't challenge them. You'll be all right. Same in the Warrens Occult Museum at the house. Do not challenge them. Just be yourself, and you'll be all right. You'll be safe. But if you challenge them, they will challenge back. So, including our dolls. If our dolls are still at the house and you're investigating the house, be respectful of them dolls. They're in the doll room. They are not friendly. Put it this way: that one will stop your heart if you mess with it. So don't challenge them. So, and like I said, be respectful. If you're going to the house, us family will respect that. If you're respectful, don't go in there with the mindset calling Ed and Lorraine out. If they're there, they'll show themselves to you. They'll say hello to you. They're not gonna harm you. They'll say hello to you if you're there. And For the new viewers watching the show, we were at Crypticon KC last weekend. My dad and I guest spoke on a panel for 2 days. We did Saturday night at 8. We were the last panel of the night, so we got to go longer. And then Sunday, we were the noon panel. We opened up for two of the famous horror movie actors, Richard Brake and Jeff Daniel Phillips. And I guess things went haywire after we got done talking about the Warrens and the Warrens Occult Museum and stuff like that. So, but yeah, all in all, it's been a good year so far for us, despite our setback in June, but we're on the mend on that. Soon as I hear from the Marshall Cinema Haunted House, I will share their event out. We will be there this year helping out again. I will be in costume again this year. So you'll be able to come out. Free admission. Kim and Hallie don't charge for it. We all just volunteer. We have fun doing it and putting it on for the kids, the grown-ups that come through. I mean, we get little kids that come through. And some of them are scared out of their minds. And then there's one that walked up to me. I think he was only, I want to say he wasn't even 4 foot tall yet. And he goes to me, he goes, "I ain't scared of you." And I ended up, all you could do was just laugh. This little kid until I stalked him, and then he got scared. But yeah, it's a good time. And keep in mind when you come in that place, it's an actual haunted movie theater. I mean, it's haunted. I mean, it was on TV on Dead Files in 2012. So, and it's still an active movie theater. You can go there and watch movies and stuff like that. She puts a lot of hard work into that movie theater to keep it going. And they were actually gonna tear the place down because nobody wanted it. It had sat abandoned for quite a while, and nobody wanted it. And city was gonna tear it down, so Kim went and bought it because she went there as a kid. So she bought it, and she decided to open it back up and make it a functioning movie theater, and now that's what it is. And they just did some remodeling in there and got some new seats and all kinds of stuff in there. So that being said, we're gonna get ready to wrap up for the night. And we will be on Sunday night with Carol Garcia. Yeah, Gary, Halloween is almost here. It's almost spooky season. Can't wait. We love Halloween. We'll be doing that haunted house, and then we get a break, and then in November we're headed to St. Joe to the Beatty Mansion to investigate with Ken 10 Paranormal. We were supposed to do Emmaus with him, but the weekend that he booked Emmaus, we're booked for the haunted house in Marshall, so we wouldn't be able to go to that. They only had Friday open, and we're at the Marshall Cinema that Friday, so we won't be doing it. And but yeah, we'll be back on Sunday, same time, same 8:30. My dad, me, Carol Garcia, Rebecca, and probably Barbara. She was talking about coming on Sunday as well. And So, with that being said, everyone, stay safe out there. If you're investigating tonight, if you're investigating this weekend and traveling, stay safe out there. And remember, if you're being bullied in the paranormal field, you do have a voice. Nobody's better than anybody in this field. We're all after the same common goal to prove the existence of life after death. So stop with the drama and the hate and all that garbage, because we don't they don't need it out there. And I mean, people want to trash this one, that one. There's no sense in it. Do your thing and just keep going. So with that being said, everybody have a good night. Stay safe out there, and we will see you Sunday night, same time, same channel. Everybody have a good night.